Welcome to week 6 of Young and Stuck. This week's episode brings light to the possibility that anything is really possible. That we as humans individually have the innate decision to create change both within our own lives and the community. This week's guest upholds this message by living and demonstrating it each day. Omid's life has been full of excitement, starting his career off as a professional DJ. With quite some success traveling around the world, commanding DJ decks, and opening for personalities like U2, Drake, Sean Paul, and Avicii, to list a few. With success in his DJ life, there was still something missing for Omid, something inside. That's what we're here to talk about today. Welcome, Omid. Super excited to have you here today.
Like my half basement?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what? Oh yeah, that's from, I know what that's, duh.
Yeah. It's so fun. People get to see where I live now.
Welcome. Thank you for coming to the 7th episode of my podcast, Young and Stuck. Super honored to have you here. How's quarantine been for you?
Surprisingly comfortable.
I like that.
Very good.
What have you been doing?
Literally all I do all day long is try to build habits. I think I've taken the social distancing part maybe a bit too far because I've distanced myself even further than like I'm supposed to. I maybe think so because I'm kind of like, well, there's no work, there's no meetings, there's nowhere to be. So I'm kind of like, cool, like my phone can just stay over there and I can just go and just accomplish the things that I need to do because I kind of like thought about the time when this is going to be done because I try to think about, future and where I'm going in my life. And I was like, if this is done and I come out the same person that I was when I went into it, that's a little silly because there's really no distractions. There's nowhere to go. There's no classes, no meetings, no jobs or anything. So I was like, I have to do more. And every morning I wake up and I just try to go through my morning routine. I now have an afternoon routine and an evening routine in place. So I just go through them and it's like the same thing every single day in perpetuity. And I'm looking forward to this being done. I'm slowly getting to the point where I'm like, I'm looking forward to this quarantine thing being done so I can like reemerge as like this new person. As this new thing. And that's it. It's just about habit building.
Can you share a bit about your afternoon routine? That's interesting to me because I have a morning routine which I adore. I have a night routine I'm working on. Do not have an afternoon routine. So that's super interesting. I'd love to hear that.
Well, the afternoon routine kind of birthed when I realized like, okay, so I know that when I wake up in the morning, I have lots of energy. I know what I want to accomplish to set me up for the day. And the evening routine is a nice, like downward, like bring the energy down. Like, I do a nighttime meditation before I go to sleep so I can fall asleep with like the last few thoughts of my brain being really positive ones. Mm-hmm. But the middle part of the day is like it's kind of the Wild West in my life. It's like it could just be anything, and there's too much freedom there. And I think there needs to be more discipline. So I said, okay, literally in my day journal, which actually you have the same one as my brother and I now, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah, I do. Changed my life.
It's a game changer. And so what I put into it is like I literally write, you have to rally with like an exclamation mark of like you have to generate energy. Mm-hmm. And so I do breath work. And breath work is something that both keeps me engaged but calm after eating lunch, because that's generally when your energy, at least my energy, will dip at that moment. Like I don't drink coffee anymore after that point. So it's like, okay, how do I keep my energy up to a point where I can actually accomplish something between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m.?
Yeah.
And so I literally write, I have to rally. I do breath work and I do it from, I vary my breath work exercises, but right now I'm on the Wim Hof. I don't know if you're familiar with who that is.
Oh, I know who Wim Hof.
Yeah, he's awesome. So I go through that, and then to be honest, I do something that's like, I don't know, a bit more like, let's say, self-care. Like I don't, that's kind of a buzzword. So I do my breath work. I have a little incense thing over here where I burn like some oils. I put on some like really nice smelling like creams and like facial stuff, and it's just like everything smells good and it's very fresh and it's very light. And that's usually when I do my reading, because I realize like the middle of the day I can sit on my bed or sit on a couch somewhere that's like not here.
Mhm.
and I'll read, and I'll just read, and then usually I'll read something so interesting that it forces me to come back to my desk and start taking notes. Then when I'm here, it's like, okay, now I'm out of this afternoon funk. I have a routine now. I read, I write it down, I learn, I keep it in my mind. More habits are being built.
I like that. I also struggle with midday chunks, and in my planner, those are the times where I'm often looking, being like, okay, what can I put here? And I have to think the hardest. So good on you, inspiring. Um, yeah. So what do you find is like the best thing that you're getting from this? More energy? Are you feeling more stable throughout the day? Are you feeling more accomplished?
From like the afternoon routine you're
Yeah,
talking about?
just from the routine in general. My apologies.
Um, what am I getting the most? What I'm getting is okay. So I'll describe it to you this way. Like the way that I see like energy being used is either from like a it's a spectrum of either too much rigidity or too much freedom. And I've usually lived in the too much freedom side. Like I need to come back to earth and like have structure in place. Now that I have a structure in place, it's like I structure free time in a sense. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I can sort of read whatever book I want, I can listen to whatever music I want, but if I don't have some kind of discipline in place, 1 hour becomes 8 hours. 8 hours becomes one day becomes a week. All of a sudden, a lack of an afternoon routine is like, what the hell did I do between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m.? This is like that very necessary bridge. And that's exactly what it is. It's like the morning routine is solid. It's probably my favorite part of the day so far. And then evening routine is increasingly becoming more interesting. But the middle part is like, you got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can go for walks and it's nice and I exercise and it's blah, blah, blah. But it's like something has to get accomplished here.
Mm-hmm.
And it generates energy because now I get excited when I get to do the things that I like, which is I like to sit and I like to read. I like to learn. I like to do those things. Now I have a specific time to do that. And so it's good for that reason.
Yeah, I like that. Dedicated throughout the day. Part of why I wanted to bring you onto the podcast, not only because you have great insight on all these topics, but also you have a super interesting backstory too of your professional career as a DJ. And I kind of wanted to talk to you a bit about kind of what you mentioned there before when you said before your life was a bit too much about freedom, and now it's about implementing more discipline into it or to have the free time. Um, so I kind of wanted to ask your backstory on what drew you to being a DJ and kind of how that started for you.
Kind of, I feel like sometimes when I hear other people get asked this question, the answer is usually like, oh, I got into it by accident and I wasn't supposed to be here. And actually, that's my part of the story too. It's like when I was like maybe 17 or 18, I went to like an all ages like club event. When I had never been to like even a nightclub, I didn't know what a nightclub was, right? I went with my older cousins, that kind of thing. And so I went and I realized there's thousands of people here dancing and having a good time, and like that's great, and I'm having a good time being there. But then I saw this one person standing in like this DJ booth, right? And I was like, this fucking guy is like setting the vibe for the whole thing, and I kind of got intoxicated by that. I think that like that played a bit into like my affinity towards like leadership positions, things of like organizational, like I like bringing people together as like a connector, sort of, if that was a role, as a job. But I was like, I love music. I'm always a person that people come to when they want to find new music. And so I was like, listen, I can't play an instrument. I can't sing. Um, let's play other people's music in like in the sense of what a DJ does. And so I at the time was already like, so okay, so in high school I finished a semester early. Like I only went to high school for 3.5 years because I did summer school every summer on by purpose. And I saved up a bit of money and I asked my parents like if they like let's say semi beg them to say, hey, like I have this much money, can you give me a little bit of money so I can go and buy turntables because this is what I think would be fun and interesting. And I think there was a part of it that like just nobody else I knew was doing this, and it was kind of like, oh, this is like cool, like I'll be a cool guy if I do this kind of thing. And I went and I got turntables, and I literally remember just like in the basement that I am now. Obviously, we had all our walls before. We only have half of them right now. Just over on this side of the wall, I would go and I would like in the middle of the night, like till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, I'd have my headphones on because obviously I don't want to wake people with speakers, and I would just play and I would practice. And it literally got to the point where I would play like, I don't know, high school parties, and like I would host parties on my own house in this very basement so people could come just so I could play music in front of them, right? And from there it went to like one person who I like sort of knew, like we kind of went to summer school together, and then he sort of had a loose connection via his sister's boyfriend's dog's pastor's friend person, like who knew somebody in the club industry, and then that kind of got me my first opportunity to play one of those very all ages parties that I mentioned to you. And then I met a promoter, and then you meet owners, and like literally like the story goes from there. But how I got into it was kind of, I was like, I want to express myself musically, but I'm not good, or at least at the time, I didn't believe that I could be a singer or like a musician of some kind, like playing an actual instrument. And so I was like, this is a kind of instrument in itself. It's just I'm playing other people's music and manipulating it into, you know, one long track kind of thing.
Yeah. Where did you? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, and that's how, that was the end of it. That's how I got into it.
I was gonna say, where did you find the insane discipline as a teenager to go to summer school? Is it just having this dream of wanting to achieve something at the end, and you knew that would get you closer, or like, was it just, were you always that kid that was like, listen, I'm gonna crush it, or was there parental pressure? Like, what drove that for you?
You know, no one's ever asked me that question. I don't even know if I asked myself, but you'll get an honest answer, because I'm gonna, I mean, think about it for the first time. I think two things happened now that I'm thinking about it. One was, and I don't mean this in an egotistical way, but I've always been good at school. As in, if school was based on how good your results were and how good your marks were, I was always good at it, because I sort of figured out a way just to do just enough to get the grade that I knew was good enough for either university or to make my parents happy, or whatever version of that. And the second thing is, I wasn't like, because I didn't hate going to school, like I loved the social aspect of it. Going to school in the summer, knowing if I do a very specific like cocktail of going to summer school, grade 9, 10, 11, like summers, at the end, because my school was semestered and not termed, I could have a full, whatever, 6 months off, 5 months off, knowing that that following summer of like grade 12 finishing is also part of like the break I would have leading into university. All of a sudden, I could go from, instead of having all of July and August before going to university, I could have January to September. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, why wouldn't I do that? And I just literally happened to fall upon this by accident in grade 9. And maybe there's a secret answer C, which is, I think that maybe when I realized I could be done high school earlier and I would have that kind of freedom, knowing that the thing I value the most is freedom, I kind of was like a no-brainer. It was kind of like, yeah, I'd rather do this, but have a longer chunk of time off consecutively, as opposed to 2 months every year. I could have 9 months in a row. And I'm super glad that I did that, because that was like one of the most glorious 9 months of my life. Like, everybody was in high school, obviously going about like their regular life. And I was like, I had 3 or 4 jobs at the time. I was like, I had my own car. I was driving places. I was doing things like, I don't know, I loved it.
I feel like you must have been such a mature little teenager, because, like, good for you. Just a lot of people I've met didn't have that mindset. So just to kind of have that innate thought in your mind, I feel like can be a natural part to your success along with your hard work. But having that internal, round of applause.
Nobody's ever clapped for me for that, but thank you.
Well, I didn't know that. I'm just like blown away. Thank you for sharing that. My birds are super excited.
Love it. The birds are happy.
So, okay, you finished high school and early, and then when was your first, then you started playing high school parties, you had people over. When did you start traveling for DJing? When did it start to become more active for you?
So when I went to my first year in university, I went to the University of Toronto, like downtown campus. I was already living, like I lived downtown for the first time in my life, right? And that was actually one of the first times, just period, that I had even been downtown, because like I'm from Markham, and like we grew up in Scarborough. Going downtown was literally, it might as well have been New York, because it was so far and distant from what we were doing. Like, I feel like I never went south of the 401, so to speak. So I was downtown and I was like, man, like every opportunity exists for me here. And I had very, like I said, I had very loose contacts or connections to people in the downtown core. And I started, for the first year, I was like a promoter. Like I literally promoted parties. And the idea was, hey, like you want a DJ here sometime, we need to see, like, you know, if you're good enough to, like, you know, you have a following, or are you going to be able to bring us value in other ways instead of playing music? Like anybody can play music, but can you bring us people, and can you fill up the place or whatever? And maybe it was like the nature of who I am. Like I love different people from different walks of life, and I think I connect well with all kinds of people, and that's actually something I like about myself. And I happened to be in a program where it was very tightly knit, and so it was easy to know people first, like by first name and very intimately. And so it became very easy to be like, hey, come to this party, and people were like, what's a nightclub, right? Or like they were in the same boat as I was. And so I started to bring them out. After that one, I mean, like 8 months or like that year of university had passed, they started to see like, man, this kid's bringing out like consistently lots and lots of different people. Let's give him the shot, because now it's like, if we don't make him happy, he's going to stop bringing these people, and like, you know, this is going to be stupid. At least this is what the minds of the people that were hiring me for. And I literally, that's how it started. Like they saw that I could bring them value in the sense of people who would spend money and fill up the place, and pictures would look good when they would get posted on Facebook. And they said, okay, cool. Like you've earned sort of the right to DJ here. And the thing was, like, you know, I don't know if whoever's listening, or even for yourself, it's like, you know, when you really want to do something and you've now put in so much time to do it, to prove yourself that you can do it. I'm not even that you can do it. You just want to get a chance to then prove that you can do it. That was one of those things. I was like, I just want to play music for people that aren't either high school friends of mine or university friends of mine, like the you know, the public. And I did my first gig, and it was went really well, and people liked it. And he said, come back again next week and you can play some more. And that person, his name is George, and you know, that's a story for another time, I guess. But he ended up being somebody who gave me tons of opportunities on a weekly basis, and actually ended up being like a, let's say, pseudo manager of kind. Taught me a lot about the industry, and sort of took me under his wing and protected me and make sure I got paid, and, you know, up my rates. Like it kind of, he was like gasoline to a fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go George.
Yeah, go George. Exactly.
George.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Did you want to tell the podcast what your stage name was and where you got it?
Yeah, so this is this is a question I've been asked before, but haven't been asked in a while. And every time I say it, I always start the story by saying, I wish it was a cooler story. But then over time, I realized, like, you know, I don't know, maybe it's not as lame as I once thought it was. So
Hard on yourself.
yeah, I know. So so at the very, very beginning, before I even got to university, in like maybe the 1 or 2 years before that point, when I started to like get some music stuff in order, I was under the name DJ RSVP, like literally like how you would RSVP to like I don't know where, I actually don't know where it came from, but I have a business card that has that on it. And I was like, oh, like this is cool, like people are gonna RSVP to like my party. I have no idea. Anyways, I was driving down Bloor the first year in university, and driving or walking, honestly, like my memory is now evading it myself. And I remember seeing a billboard, and it was one of those, like, you know the clothing brand Guess?
Yes.
Like Guess jeans, right?
Yeah.
They had a billboard on Bloor, and it was like this, like, you know, those black and white, like sort of like really sort of like sexy, like guy who's like super shredded and girl who's like super hot in a bikini, like they're both on a beach, and there's like a wave, and there's all these like words, and one of them is like intimate, and one of them is like, you know, like lust, and like whatever. And one of the words was couture. I had never heard that word before, and I was like, fuck is couture? And I remember, like, I didn't know if texting was a thing, but I remember asking people, like, yo, what do you think of the word couture? Like, what does it mean? Like, what do you think of DJ couture? And like, yeah, that's, I never would hype me up. And I Googled it, and nobody had that name, like, apparently in the world at that time, or at least based off what YouTube and Google told me. And it just, like, sounded cool, and it was a word that kind of, like, made me feel fancier than I actually was, which is funny because, like, I'm sort of the opposite of what couture means, which is sort of, like, high sense of fashion, high society. I'm, like, coming from, like, I wear sweatshirts and, like, baggy sweatpants with like toques and like, you know, like sort of what you would imagine wearing like on a, if you were to go to like on a school basketball trip at 7 in the morning when all your teammates are huddled and are all wearing like really baggy clothing. I'm that guy. And then I'm like DJ Couture, which is like kind of out there, but
Very.
that's the story. Yeah.
I like that. It's a nice story.
Yeah.
So how long did you DJ for?
So from 18 till, the thing is like technically I still do DJ.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't do it full time, and that's by choice and by design. But I would say full time, I did it up until 29, so 11 years, let's say, full time, something like that. And I think a few minutes earlier, you asked me about when I started to travel.
Yeah.
So 2012 was the first time that I went out of country, which is what I would consider traveling. Like up until that point, like I played shows in like Niagara Falls and Ottawa, Montreal, like not that they're local, I mean, but they're local within Canada, I guess, if that's even makes sense. But 2012 was the first time I went out of country, and that was the first time I even went to Europe, period, like whether as Omid or as DJ Couture or whoever. And my mentor and now very close friend and somebody that I admire and cherish deeply, his name is Kirk, and they go by the stage name Four Corners. That's probably the most famous thing that any of us will say in this podcast, because he's the official DJ of the Toronto Raptors. He's played, I don't know, the Olympics. Like he has a tremendous resume. And so he took me under his wing, whether from, you know, just for that tour or in general, I don't know. And he took me to Europe, and I essentially opened for him on a bunch of shows that he had already become established, like to get booked for. So we played in that first trip that we played in Belgium, the Netherlands, France, and Spain. And like, what an amazing opportunity. And he took me there, and he's so selfless, this guy. He's like, I'm bringing you here so you can build the same connections I have, so you can come do this for yourself later down the road when your brand is built up. And so 2012 was the time that I went. It took me about 5 years after that moment to then go back on my own. I needed to get some other stuff in my career, like let's say accomplished or, you know, figured out or done and that kind of thing. And so 2012 was the first time, and 2017 was the first time I went back by myself as like a solo artist, not a DJ, whatever. And then from there, I went, 2018 was kind of like hyperactive in the international travel scene. I never thought that I would make it to that point in my life, but I ended up traveling to like something like 28, 29 countries since that point. Saying it out loud actually is still kind of unbelievable to me, because I don't feel like, I mean, we'll get to the part of like why that's unbelievable, because like it turns out like I actually wasn't in love with DJing sort of this whole time. But I made it to Asia, Europe, and Africa, and obviously North America. So, and it's a 4 continents, and
That's a big accomplishment.
it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's worth a pat on the back. You're such a humble person, but I feel like sometimes when you say your accomplishments, like you're saying, it is cool when you say it out loud. Omid, like,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
#1 fan. So when you were DJing, did you ever experience anxiety or stage fright getting onto the stage initially? Was that ever a thing for you, or is it just something you knew you wanted, so you're like, yeah, and you went up and kind of performed?
Yeah. You know, if you had asked me this question while I was going through it, I probably would have said yes. But now that I think back and I reflect, I actually wasn't nervous. You know, and as we know, physiologically, like the experience of nervousness and excitement are the same. It's just how you perceive it, right? I was actually super excited, and that's quite actually quite a positive note, because later I realized how many other parts of my life I had like paralyzing anxiety for, that this was one of those places where whether because of other people's feedback and opinion of how good I was or my skill was or how good I thought I was about myself, I always thought I was really good. And I was like, I'm excited to get on stage because I don't feel like I'm going to fuck this up. I don't know if I can swear on your podcast, but
Yes, you can.
yeah, okay. I felt like I couldn't mess this up. And so, I mean, yeah, maybe is that a bit of an inflated ego? Yes, maybe not. But the point was like I got on stage and always was excited to play because I always had these grand visions of like what it would like what I look like playing, thinking I was like, I don't know, Tiesto or Avicii or something like, on this like 50,000 person stage or something. So I actually don't think that I was as nervous as I don't think I was nervous at all. I was just always excited to play music.
True passion at the time? Still true passion. Music is a passion.
Yeah, yeah, and it definitely started out that way. Like it became something else, and that's eventually probably why I so quickly fell out of love with it because it became less about music, probably not even about the music at all. And just I got caught up in like the politics of how does my brand look to other people? Like criticizing myself to like the smallest details, which the average person wouldn't even catch onto in my sets. Came about, I don't know, like how does it look if I only put this many dates on a calendar? Then it became about, well, I did this last year. If I don't outdo myself, people are going to think I'm falling off or I suck. And I don't know, just like a lot of like, I turned a lot of people off based off feeling like I needed to be this like arrogant, big sort of presence in the DJ world. And so it kind of like went down, and it's kind of like what I imagined it would feel like if like all of a sudden like those seatbelts of a roller coaster just came off and you're just like off the handles, and
yeah, just going.
That's how I felt. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That may have not been the easiest thing. Well, it's not always easy to talk about times like that you're going through. So thank you. So was there a moment where you were DJing that everything changed, or was it at home? Was there a pivotal moment where you wanted, like, I know you said that you noticed things were changing for you, but was there one exact moment where you were like, I have to change my life, or I need to change the way I'm doing things?
The answer to that question is yes, but it didn't come from DJing at all. It came in my personal life. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple things that happened, and it happened in the year 2018. The headlining moment, I guess, was a romantic relationship that I was in came to an end. And that's when my whole world blew up like I've never experienced before. Leading up to that moment, there was like tremendous amounts of weight gain. I was physically uncomfortable. Like I had back pains. Excuse me. I had just like general uncomfortability in literally my own skin. I had been spending just a truly unfathomable amount of money for the person that I was and how much I was making versus I was spending to try to impress people, to try to sell the look of success. All these things have been wearing on me without me knowing. Then when the relationship ended, then it was like, holy shit, like, oh man, like you fell out of love with this a long time because you stopped doing it for the right reasons, which is what I started with. Then it became about trying to show people that I was successful instead of actually feeling like I was, and then sharing that with the world. It became more about looking the part as opposed to being the part. And that's when my, like I said, like when that final cap and that final straw that broke the camel's proverbial back happened, that's when I looked around and I was like, oh my God, like, okay, you don't like what you're doing, you don't like who you are, you don't like the people you're like, and then the reflection of everything started, and that's when I realized, oh, you haven't liked this in a long time. That's why you haven't been showing up as enthusiastically. That's why you've been taking opportunities that are just to fill up your calendar, just to make it look like you're still busy, like you're still successful. And like it was exhausting because I thought, well, fuck, like I played in all these different countries. Where else am I supposed to go? At some point, I'm going to run out of places to go to, right? When that happened in my personal life, that's when it encouraged me to look at the rest of my life, and DJing was a part of that.
Where did you start? What was the first thing that initiated your change? Was it like, because I know, was it changing your diet? Was it changing your circle of friends? What did you change in your life?
Accountability. I sometimes like literally used to think about the time when somebody would ask me this question and what I would say, because I want the answer to be something that is actionable and powerful. This is my opinion, and when I say you, I mean like theoretically the people who are hopefully enjoying this podcast. I'm saying nothing will happen for you if you don't take accountability for the decisions you made. That's it. Like, I don't know if belief comes first. I don't know if the accountability comes first. I think it's like, if you don't take onus of the fact that whether you did this consciously or unconsciously, whether you liked it or didn't like it, at the end of the day, you did this. Nobody else treated people like shit. Nobody else treated their body like shit. It's you who did this, right? When I took accountability and I finally came to, and it's hard, right? Like, and this is a process, mind you, but to answer your question, the first step is, okay, I have to start getting comfortable with the idea that I did this. And it takes a long time, but the very first step was, okay, this might seem hard and you might not even believe it right now, but you did this, and the only way you're going to get around this is to understand that you did it, but you can change it. I can't blame anybody like outside of myself, even though maybe I feel like, okay, and I did blame other people, by mind you. Oh, my parents didn't give me a good example of what it should be like. Oh, my girlfriend, well, she didn't do this, or, well, this person didn't do that. And it's like, okay, okay, fine, but it's your responsibility to change it. And when I understood that, and accountability comes full circle, I think, when you actually grasp the concept of, forget the blame, the responsibility of, are you going to do something about this, is accepted, then you can begin to change. And accountability was step one, for sure.
Do you have a step two, just out of curiosity?
The step two is the belief that you can change. It's like, okay, I made all these mistakes. I suck. The decision sucked. Everything about this sucks. But now what? Great. I've taken accountability. Yes, I made these decisions. Yes, I performed those actions and behaviors, and I said those things, and I did these things. But but now what? It's like that's why I almost like disagree with the statement of like knowledge is power. Yes, that's half true, but it's only powerful if you act on it. Sitting with the information is it's half of the picture. The other half is developed when you actually go and do something about it. Then you actually, and the belief that you need before the action comes is that if I put in effort into doing something about this, that I can become somebody else. And the belief, and that's probably the only belief that matters, is that if I put time, deliberate practice into whether that's confidence or learning a skill or overcoming heartbreak or getting better at meditation, the belief that I can get better is really the only belief that matters. The belief that you can change is really the only belief that matters. Then it's about how much are you willing to put into this? How much effort are you willing to put in? And that's step 3 and beyond. But step two is the belief. Yeah.
I resonate with what you said about the self-belief, because as you know, we've had many conversations about it, and it's something that is absolutely essential to be, I feel like, in the foundation, like step 2, like you said, accountability and self-belief. Those two things can propel you into being a good person and loving and caring about other people. But until you can find those things, and sometimes I had a big long-term relationship end too, and that's what sparked a lot of those things for me as well. But sometimes I feel like it's the tragedy that can bring the beauty and the light after. So although it was like really hard, it's brought so much positivity into your life at the same time. I'm having a brain fart. Oh yes, here we go. It's back. So I was gonna say, so what are you doing now then? Now that you're not DJing full time, are you incorporating it part time? What's like your new agenda? Pre-COVID, post-COVID, of course, but in career-wise.
Right. So I guess there's kind of 2 ways to answer this question. Well, the first way is, because DJing is still the most monetizable skill that I have, I'm doing it. Obviously, I'm not literally doing it right now because we're in quarantine, but I'm doing it until I get out of debt, which I briefly mentioned earlier. It is kind of a means to an end, because once I get out of debt, then I can do the gigs and do the events that I actually give a shit about, or I feel like my strengths are good, or that I'm a good fit for. In the meantime, I'm working with our mutual friend who I don't know if you'll want me to mention. Yeah, he runs a company called Ads World. His name is Nick, and he so we sell advertising, marketing, social media. We do some graphic design, some photography, like content creation, essentially, like for socials. And I work with him, and we handle. I don't know. Sometimes we have one account. We've had upwards of 10 accounts at one time, and we essentially deploy like campaigns and like marketing strategies against different businesses, primarily in the ones that are local, more based towards like restaurants, sort of like small one storefront business kind of things that like, we're not handling like Walmart or Tim Hortons or anything like that. Just to generate revenue until like we get out of debt, we build some equity for ourselves. All the meanwhile, that's sort of like answer part one of literally what I'm doing. Part two is ultimately, I want to take trauma and turn it to triumph. And that's literally probably the best way that I can explain. Like my entire strategy from now and from the time that I realize this until the time that I die is to be able to take the lessons and the traumas and the pains that have come from the things that have happened to my life, understand them, process them, and then put it back out into the world in a way that everybody else or the people that I deem my demographic will be able to use to help inspire them the way that I was inspired to change by the people I learned from. And I'm drawing examples from, you already know where this is going, right? Like, and you just learned what the GOAT meant, by the way. So the GOAT, right, in my opinion, is
off for like days. You and me about both all these goats, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, what the fuck, right? Fuck are all these goat emojis?
Why do they goat so much? The Persian thing I don't get.
Right. The undisputed GOAT of my life is Gary Vee.
Gary Vee's dad, as you say.
He's my internet dad. I famously hashtagged him and quoted him as that. And this is good that you're catching me at a really positive, kind of uplifting time, because every time I've done my own video blog or almost like confession style journal entry into like a microphone or a video camera, and I've brought Gary Vee's name up, I've cried like uncontrollably, but out of gratitude, right? I want to take the lessons and the framework that I literally rebuilt myself from based off what he said and what Tom Bilyeu said and what Jay Shetty has said and what Brene Brown has told me and what books from, I don't know, John Kim and Ray Dalio, like the list can go on and on of the amazing people that I've been introduced to by really, he was the first flame, right? I know that, sorry?
You're so passionate.
Oh man, yeah, I mean, we can, yeah, again, if I go into the thigh, yeah, I'm going to start crying. What?
Am I saying his name right? Sadhguru.
Oh, Sadhguru, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, heavy, like really powerful stuff, right? Like we've both actually learned quite a bit from them. And so what I want to do is turn the pains of my life into lessons that I can share with other people and communicate with other people so that they can have a more enriched life the same way Gary Vee wants me to have an enriched life, the same way Tom Bilyeu wants me to have an enriched life. And so that's my why. My why is I just want to get up in the morning and give the world give the rest of the world what this other part of the world gave to me. Because acts of service, I think, and community and playing to your strengths, and I want to be the most effective communicator possible, maybe of all time. Why is that? That's not a crazy idea. Like, why can't somebody at the end of the day, somebody had to be Disney, somebody had to be Nike, somebody had to be whatever they had to be. And so I just believe it now. I just believe that if I put time and deliberate practice into actuating onto my potential via skills, that I could be the most impactful public speaker of all time. And that doesn't need to be the thing that I achieve. I just want a chance to do it. And that's the thing that took the longest, actually. And I'm still going through, right? Like, the results are nice, and not that I'm not looking forward to them, but I had to heed Gary's words. I had to find what I was going to fall in love with, what process was I going to fall in love with. And the process of waking up and meditating and accessing my subconscious and bringing up those feelings and those memories and those experiences and those traumas, processing them, putting them in a way that somebody who's 21 and grew up on Snapchat culture is going to understand it the same way somebody who's 66, who's a male, who hasn't expressed himself in any vulnerable way his entire life. How do I inspire both these people and the people in the middle? And then, you know, that's sort of like where the beautiful part of everybody's life comes in. It's like now you have to look back and think, what am I good at? What do I like doing? Are they the same thing? Because if they are, you won the lottery. Because a lot of times you like something that you're not good at, and that's okay because you can get better. It just so happens the thing I like to do turns out to be the thing I feel is also my strength, which is communicating, which is bringing people together and saying, hey, this is why we can be better together, and I can show them how. And I put on so many masks my whole life to try to get people to like me from all different walks of life, because I couldn't live in a world where one person didn't like me. Now, did I shapeshift with sort of with harm to myself? I did. I'm just looking at it in a different way. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I shapeshifted and I put on masks to try to get everyone to like me and to try to connect with people. I can do that without doing harm to myself. And in fact, I can now flip the script. Now I can look at this as like, well, wait a minute. Now I know how to communicate with all different kinds of walks of life. But I'm just going to send them a better message now. Instead of, hey, like me and be my friend or give me things. Now I can say, well, let me hopefully try to inspire you in a way that makes you become inspired to be the person you're supposed to be, not the person that you're pretending to be, just like I was. Mm-hmm. And in some sort of roundabout way, I would fail an elevator pitch if this was a 2-minute elevator pitch. But to answer your question, like, I want to create meaningful content for the world so that people can be inspired the same way I was inspired. That's probably the best way I can put it at this moment.
That's beautiful. I understand. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's going to change the world.
Starts with me.
I get it though. I get the communication thing, like the passion for communicating and having a positive message. And I think that because I think you're somebody too that, from what I know, you're spending time refining what you're doing too, to an extent, because at the same time, Gary Vee can say that perfection just slows you down. So finding the balance between those two things, I think when you do decide to put out the content that you are, it's going to be really impactful.
I hope so. You know, I actually thought about this, and I think about this often, right? Because on one hand, I have the idea that, okay, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, all these things that I've learned and processed and like sort of learned as lessons are only existing in my mind, and the world doesn't know about it. On the other hand, I can't help anybody until I help myself. And because I haven't helped myself in so long, if ever, me taking this 1.5 years at this point of being, like, let's say, radio silent from like a social media standpoint, almost outweighed the first idea, because I said, I've done so little, if any, work on myself, that even if I do take 1.5 years or 2 years for myself to really get in touch with who are you, undo the bad behaviors, patterns, the fixed mindset, is, first of all, to become aware of it, then to work at it, and then to get good at working at it every day and not getting frustrated, not quitting, and not doing this, has taken me to the point where I am now. And my thing is, you had Alex on the podcast yesterday or something like that. She's the person that taught me to be gentle and patient with myself. And she's like, you will feel called to come forward and speak your truth when that feels right for you. It's beginning to start. The flame is starting to, like, the embers are beginning to light up. And like, if I was in a dark room, I'd be like, oh, the little tiny lights are coming on. It's not that it needs to be perfect, because I agree with that. It doesn't need to be the big fire where I come out and I'm like, I already accomplished this. Look at everything I've done, try to be like me. I want to take Gary's advice and document the journey as opposed to create the content, right? In the meantime, I also understood, like, listen, like, you haven't taken a break from people, social media, stresses, just like general things that kept piling onto my shoulders ever, that if I take this time to really settle into my own, reflect, actually do and be the person that I'm preaching I am, then I can go and I can talk about it. But I couldn't talk about meditation because I didn't seriously do it literally until like 2 weeks ago. But I've been saying how good it is and why people should do it for this entire time. That right there, in my opinion, is a problem. So either I have to stop saying it and then, talk about the things that I was doing. And I was like, okay, well, what can I talk about? Then I start to realize I'm not actually doing anything, right? Like I'm talking about the theory of things, which isn't wrong. It's just that I'm not doing it. So I don't feel it's not appropriate for me to say to people, hey, this is why you should wake up every morning and do 50 push-ups, or to call your friends and do push-ups like we did. I wasn't actually doing it. So I'm taking this time to do it. And when I do reemerge, let's say, I'll know that whatever I put out will be because I'm actually doing it. And then I feel comfortable talking about it. And then I'll feel like, not an authority, but I'll feel like I have a right to say it because, well, I'm in the field. I'm in the stadium. I'm playing. I'm playing the game. I'm not just watching from the spectators area,
You're being authentic with your message. You're living the truth you're projecting.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
no, I love it. So in regards to everything you're doing now, are you working on, I don't know how to word this question. I'm gonna have to edit this a bit. Are you, let me ask it again. Like, are you still coaching? Are you still working towards becoming a coach?
So I actually finished my coaching training or certificate program maybe 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
I haven't had clients this entire time. I mean, like my brother and you and like my mom, even to an extent, like I don't coach them, right? I just try to share the things that are working for me. I will though, and I will get back into the I'll get back into the coaching. I sort of have like I don't know. Maybe I'll explain it to you this way. I have a tiered systematic idea of how I think this is going to go. When I start putting out content of like sharing my story, the things that I've lived through and learned and experienced and sort of like come out of, eventually when people start to realize, hopefully, that they don't necessarily need to believe what it is I'm saying or I'm trying to sell them even. I just need them to believe that I believe it. And when they see that I'm coming finally, right, from a place of genuine, like, this is who I was and this is all the things that I realized and this is who I'm trying to become and this is why, the coaching, I feel like, will be it's sort of an extension to the content that I'm putting out for free. And I'm taking Gary's advice and I'm going to put my best content out for free. And the coaching will sort of be access to me in the sense of like, I genuinely I want to help everyone, right? If I can help them with free content, that's great, because I know that it's not even about the finances, but financially speaking, or from a standpoint of opportunities, if I give people genuine truth, those opportunities will come, because I will attract people because of my energy and my authenticity and like just being the genuine, hopelessly average person that I finally am admitting to being, and I mean that in a positive way. Then if people see like, man, like I resonate with this guy, the access to me to be a one-on-one coach will come when people say, I think that he's the guy for me, based off all the other things I've already given you, as opposed to me doing it the other way around, trying to sell my coaching services because I'm trying to, let's say, I don't know, build income, which is nothing wrong with, but I don't need to do that because I'm super fucking privileged to live at home. I don't pay for rent. I don't have a car. Like, it's not that I don't need the money, but I don't need to leverage that yet. And so the coaching thing will, at least this is all theory, right? Because again, I'm not doing it. The coaching idea is that in theory, the right client will come to me so that I can actually help them. And I just didn't want to, and this is not a knock on other coaches. It's just, I didn't want to put myself out in a way of saying, I'm a coach, let me help you. I want people to see what it is that I'm talking about, ask themselves if I'm the person they think could get them from baseline to flourish, and then they can come and work with me because they wanted to, as opposed to me selling them. And I'm only saying that because I have the privilege of not needing the income from it. So I'm, in that case, my situation might be a touch bit different, but it's the reality. So
I like the reality of it. I think that that's a great way to think about it, and I think it's going to be authentic too, because as much as you can, like we said, there's nothing, or like you said, there's nothing wrong with approaching it early and selling your services. But if you're putting out, like you said before, your most authentic self, then you're going to be attracting people that truly want you.
Sure.
Not, and sometimes, you know.
Yeah, that's important, right? Because like I didn't really know what I didn't even know that an ideal client. I didn't know that that idea existed. I always lived from the standpoint in my DJ career. I was never like, hey, is this person's event or club night or festival in line with my skills where I want to take my career? Because I never thought about that. I just took whatever came into my DM, on my text, on my emails of a request to play. I never aligned myself with things that were to my strengths, to my interests. I just took stuff just to pump up my bank account so I could buy more stuff, so I could impress people I didn't like more. And I could fill up a gig schedule by saying, hey, there's 30 days in a month. I'm playing 27 of them. Look how good I am, right? Let me tell you how quickly that will lose authenticity. You'll lose everything that you'll lose integrity with
Yeah.
yourself and with other people. So I just want to, if not anything else, I want to learn from my own mistake, and this time align myself with ideal clients and say no to people, not from like a hierarchy place of like, no, I'm not going to help you. It's just, I don't think I'm the right person to help you. I agree that I want you to, I want to help you, but I also want to help the people that I've determined I can help. And the way that I got to that was realizing, first of all, becoming aware and then processing the things that I went through. So I can't help somebody in like postpartum depression. I'm never going to give birth, but I can help men who aren't able to express themselves emotionally in a relationship, at least because I helped myself. And I couldn't do that my whole life, and I couldn't do that in the confines of my own relationship. But now that I understand that I can only help people with what I myself have lived through, my demographic became very narrow, which is good because, as Gary talks about, I want to go deep and not wide. I want to go specific, and I want to talk to men who I think need to step forward emotionally to meet their counterparts from like a vulnerability standpoint so that they can build meaningful connections, so that we can remove aggression and we can remove, I don't know, like a million other things that I think are happening more from the side of men, because that's the side that I can speak to, you know? I think I can help them, and I think that I can impact, I don't know, this society that doesn't value the emotional man because we think of him as like too codependent, you know? And then there's like the other side, which is what males think they should be, which is this super sort of like testosterone driven alpha male. And I hate that term because the alpha male needs to get redefined in itself. It's like, how do I take this like mama's boy and combine him with like the sort of like what the Marlboro man, like the sort of manliest of man, and how do I find something in the middle? Because I don't see myself as either of these two. Well, why can't there be something in the middle where somebody is an alpha male who's a provider, who does hard things and like, you know, is like take care of his body and takes care of his mind and opens his heart. I want to find, you know, I want to go here.
I remember you and I had a conversation. We were walking through the city in the winter, and it was about, I'm not sure if you remember this, but you're talking about wanting to share your message and create like it was just like a crazy conversation, but create a workshop for all of the ex-boyfriends. Do you remember that? An ex-boyfriend workshop?
I actually don't, but tell me.
You, can you hear that? Yeah. Okay, so, sorry about that brief interruption. Can you hear me? Okay. Basically, you were talking about that you wanted to do a workshop for all of the if you don't want this in here, I'll cut it out, but you wanted to do a workshop for all of the ex-boyfriends, and you wanted to like bring them in and scare the shit out of them with your like big DJ friends or whoever, and be like, you think you're fucking tough? Like, you think you're so cool? What you fucking do? Well, you're not, and we're here to show you that. And I remember just being like, yeah. And I think from another perspective too, you saying that you can narrow down and focus on men because that's fantastic that, like you said, you found your audience. I just want you to hear this just so you can hear it. I think you do a fabulous job of relating to females, women in general, and just validating emotion for them. And that's not saying you're feminine, but I'm just saying as a male, who's somebody I see as very male-like, I don't see you femininely. You do a fantastic job at validating emotions and really understanding. And if you don't understand, you'll be like, okay, why? Explain more. Tell me how you're feeling. You're not like, I just find that you do a fantastic job at that. So I just want you to hear that too.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. Speaking from personal experience, I mean, I've been lucky enough to have you there at a time that kind of sucked once at 3 a.m. You were the person to answer the phone. So, and I'll never forget that. You were so kind in the moment, and like it takes real courage and a real heart to be that way for somebody.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me.
Of course.
Yeah, and I do remember that. I do remember that point in that conversation now. Yeah. I was obviously very emotionally like driven because I was like, like I've never hit anybody in my life. I've never punched anyone. I once pushed somebody in like the 4th grade, and my body hated it so much. I don't think I ever physically aggressed another person in my life. At the time, I wanted to fight against ex-boyfriends and sort of like acts of aggression, and sort of like where this is coming from is like at some point when I started to go on walks, I started to realize like, especially at nighttime, because I did a lot of nighttime walking when it was, especially in the summer, I started to realize like, women who are walking either towards me would, put their head down and walk quicker or cross the street or whatever. And I'm like, I feel like I'm one of the nicest people in my neighborhood. Like, I'm smiling at people, I'm waving, like, and I have this tiny 4-pound dog, right? It's like, I'm so like non-aggressive. I don't know what the word is, but at some point I realized like, the problem here is that women in this case are sort of fearful of like a larger figure because of what has been happening in society when it comes to sexual aggression or traumas that are stemming from male dominance. And I don't mean that in a good way. Eventually I got to a point where I was like, what the fuck do I have to do to get this through the thick-minded skulls of these guys, which are generally the issue. Like, I'm not hating on them, nor I don't hate it. It's like, this is nobody's fault, but it's our responsibility to fix it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, maybe the best way I can get through to people is to bring them all into a room, show them 10 people who are bigger than them, and be like, you fuck around, this guy's gonna break your skull. It's like, that's emotional driven, and that's obviously the incorrect, approach to this. And so, fuck, man. And I'll even show you my phone, because Gary is like the GOAT when it comes back to this. And literally, if you look at my screen, I'll hold it up. On the very bottom, I created my own. Is it gonna focus? I don't know if you can see it. I made my own wallpaper on my phone, and at the top and at the bottom it says kindness is always right, as a reminder to myself that I can't ever impact anybody else if I don't come from a place of compassion. Even the people who are addicted to pornography or drugs or any kind of other addictions, any kind of past behaviors that they've had, like, the only way to impact change is with kindness. And
yes.
I changed beyond everything else in my life. I changed because I saw kindness from people like Gary. I have never seen that from a male before. Not to say I haven't been involved or in the realm of people who are men who are kind, but I haven't seen an alpha male talk about things like kindness before. I've never seen, like, it was like a unicorn. I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
He is a unicorn.
And then I realized he runs this mega alpha dominated thing, company, person, whatever, but he's talking about empathy. And I remember hearing that for the first time, and I journaled it in December of 2018. And I literally remember thinking, like, does this guy mean sympathy? Like, does he have the word wrong? I didn't even know what it meant. I didn't even know how to use empathy in a sentence. I didn't know what it was. And worse, I had never, worst of all, I had never felt it before. I had shut myself off so long ago, like a statue, that I wasn't able to deploy empathy when I needed the most, which was every moment, which was to come from a place of kindness, of always understanding that other people are going through the same things that I'm going through. But because I wasn't able to address that within myself, because I wasn't aware that I myself was hurt, no way I could have helped anybody else. Now that I realize that, and like, this guy looked me in the camera. I felt like he was talking to me like on a one-on-one coaching session. He's like, you have to be more gentle with yourself. You have to have self-compassion. You have to get to, and this is probably the one sentence out of the 2 videos that I saw that changed my life from Gary's video. It was a video with him and Tom Bilyeu on a podcast a year and a half ago. And Tom Bilyeu looked at me in his face and he goes, I figured it out, Gary. I know what your superpower is. And he said, what is it? He goes, you don't judge yourself. That moment broke me open because I was like, what the fuck? This is his superpower? What does judging yourself even mean?
Yeah.
When I understood that and I understood how that impacted me, then I understood exactly how I could use that to impact other people. It starts with kindness. If I want to get ex-boyfriends into the room, if I want to get people who are aggressive or unjust with their behaviors or their treatment of women in this case, has to be done with, look, I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. I understand that this is not coming from you. Nobody chooses to be painful. Nobody chooses to be a harasser or an aggressor in any kind of case. It's like somebody else put that idea or that pain, or the world showed you a trauma in which you processed it that way. And so now you're sharing it with other people. But if I can share kindness with them after building the established connection of, hey, I am you. I'm just you a little bit ahead. And Gary's just me a little bit ahead. That's all this is. Nobody's bad. Nobody's shit. Nobody needs to get punched in the mouth. Nobody needs to get thrown around by bouncers from my DJ lifetime when I wanted to come and scare them straight.
You were motion night, the lights from the city. It was the first night we met.
Yeah.
In person.
Yeah.
You were talking, Alex was there earlier. You were just feeling so great.
Yeah, I was. That was a good day.
That was a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we met almost a year ago. We should tell the podcast. I'm like looking to my audience here. I'm like, hello everybody. Comfortable with this podcasting in this room. Omid and we met a year ago on Tinder, of all random places.
Hinge?
No, I didn't have Hinge.
Tinder.
Damn, there's another Nicole Martin on Hinge you matched with.
Maybe, yeah. That looks just like you.
Okay, whatever, some app. And I'm so lucky because I literally remember reading your bio and being like, who is this human? Where did he come from? Where did he get that beautiful smile? And you just have so much positive energy. And I remember just talking to you and being like, I'm so happy I got to meet you, because it's been one of like the most fantastic parts of my year, for sure. And I mean, you're pretty good at giving me a kick in the ass when I need it and asking the hard questions. So when I text you, all right, can we have a conversation? Set a time, let's set a date. And then you go, why, Nicole? Why? And you push, and then eventually the answer comes out. You're good at that. Because the Gary Vee approach works so well with people. With, like, my personality works so well with that kind of just hard talk. Also, like, showing the compassion and the empathy, but with the sternness incorporated in it.
I appreciate that. I was never like that. I mean, that I should rephrase that. I wasn't like that for a long time. Like,
I've heard.
I looked at who I was at 9 years old, the kid who couldn't wait to stay late or go early to help teacher put the chairs up on desks or take them down at some point I just lost the love for being kind to myself and to other people, because I interpreted the world as a place where there was, there's something wrong with me. And like, this is the way that I am. And I keep letting people down and I keep hurting people. And it's like, at some point you shut that down. And I stopped being that person for so long. And that's why, like, I'm going to do my best not to, like, get emotional. I'm dead serious, because when I saw Gary come into my life and he gave me the thing that I wasn't able to give myself, that shit. And he changed my life, this guy. Like, he reminded me of what it meant to be good to yourself so that you can be good to other people. And I'll never forget that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with your brother one night after one of the shows. We were driving back, and I was speaking with like great gratitude. He was, I don't know, something about you we were talking about. And I was speaking with great gratitude about how your words and your communication, like I've already talked up tired a lot in this situation. But I'm saying it from, I just make jokes, so I don't know what to say sometimes. But I was saying that everything that you have to share with the world is so beautiful. And he said that for a while you didn't, like, you were more quiet, like you're describing here. He didn't go deep. I'm sure you only know those true thoughts and feelings. So thank you for sharing them. But like, I think I said, like, what a disservice to the world because you are such a beautiful human and you have so much good to give to the world. So I'm happy you had those moments, and I'm so fucking happy that you saw Gary Vee, and Gary Vee got on the computer and did whatever he did and started interacting on Twitter in 2007.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And every single thing he does, and even like the tea with Gary Vee, I'm happy that he's out there to influence and change people's lives, like men like yours, to speak to get a reach of females like me, and to really, and even for your brother to be able to get comedy from Gary. He hits every single fucking thing. Like, how can he speak to all three of us in different ways but the same way?
The fucking goat. That's how.
Did you watch the Tea with Gary Vee yesterday morning?
I don't know. But I might have seen clips from it. Yeah.
Oh, I was just fucking crying the whole time.
This guy just gets it, man. This fucking guy. I've never wanted to stand behind somebody and point to him as the example of, like, than I have for Gary Vee. Like, if they should put up statues of him, in my opinion, like, and he says, I'm playing for admiration. I fucking felt that. And you know how I know that? There's two reasons. One is a video of me for like 12 and a half minutes, basically unable to speak English words into the camera because I'm crying from happiness. And I happen to have enough strength to take my phone, throw it on and put it on the fucking things just so I could continue talking and maybe record it to show the world how much this guy means to me, even if it's just for myself. And the second reason I know that, the day that Kobe died and you and I spoke, and I said to you, and not in like a way to dismiss Kobe because he's so fucking meaningful to my life. And he taught me a myriad of things that I needed to hear from him and him only. But I asked you, and I said to you, and I was like, you know what will be even worse than this is if the day that I find out Gary Vee died, and when that thought actually entered my mind, and I was like, I was already emotional, so maybe that's why I went into hyperdrive. But when I realized, like, what the hell would I do without this guy? I realized, man, this is my guy. Like, when I was broken down into nothing and I was ground into a fine dust, and there was no version of me, future or past left, I felt like I was nothing. And he rebuilt me, one grain of sand at a time, one brick at a time. And I commented on one of his photos, and I heartfelt. I said, Gary, I feel like I'm the third child in the Vaynerchuk family. I feel like your mom is my mom because what she gave to you, you have given to me. I literally built my entire life's framework around your message. And I will tell you that gladly when I see you in person, and I will share every one of the pieces of love you've given me to the world. I said, I swear to God, I'm going to put on for this world the way you put on for me. I'll never forget it. And he replied back, and he said, thank you for this. This choked me up. And then that fucking choked me up, and then choked you. And okay. This guy, he helped me believe in myself again. He empowered me, and that's something he does. That's why I say he deserves a statue of admiration.
Yes. He's empowering. Yeah, he's. And I think you had me crying a minute ago. Jeez. Fuck.
Yeah. How do you even talk after that? It's my life. What is my life right now with Gary Vee?
I couldn't imagine if Gary Vee died. By the way, Gary Vee liked one of my tweets last week, and I lost my shit.
You exploded, right? Yeah. Yeah, as you should.
I texted Nima, and he's like, it's a fucking sign! And And then the next two days later, he was talking to Farouk or whatever on Instagram Live, and I was like, "What is going on? Abundance! So much abundance." Do you like that?
What?
The abundance group?
Oh, the meditations.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I like. Okay. I don't not like any part of it, but the part if it was selfishly, if it was up to me, I would have actually made the meditations a bit longer.
Okay.
Because okay, so this is coming from so Joe Dispenza, which is the fucking goat of the mind, by the way. Gary and Joe Dispenza are the two fucking goats of this whole fucking production here. He talks about meditations that are in reference to how short these ones are in 15 minutes or so. He's saying it takes typically 30 to 45 minutes for the average person to be able to build the highway between the conscious and the unconscious mind. To really sink into that alpha wave or to the theta or to the lower brain levels, it takes a significant amount of time. I personally found that as I was doing his meditations, which I'm now getting up to like the hour 52, 53 mark minute that I'm getting up into, the 15-minute ones, thank you. I should thank him. The 15-minute ones are just a bit like, it's good as a reset. It's good as like a little pick-me-up. Like that's how I still use them for that sense, but I still start and finish my day with the longer ones, which really get me into these like slow brain waves, because I find that in the 15-minute, it's like there's a bit of introduction, there's a bit of talking, and then there's not quite as much silence in the middle, which is the kind of meditation I'm getting a lot out of.
Yes.
There's guided, there's silent, there's musical, there's transcendent, there's all these kinds. I'm finding that the ones where just music plays with an introduction and an outro are the ones that I'm benefiting. But
I understand that.
In so many words, what I'm trying to say is like I'm enjoying it, but specifically for the sort of like afternoon pick-me-up kind of thing. I enjoy doing it in the morning, but yeah, you get what.
I'm enjoying the exercises the most out of it. Like
okay.
Yeah, which is funny. Like I'm enjoying the meditations, but that's something for me. I've always had a harder time meditating. So like, to even sit for the 15 minutes, it can be very difficult for me to get through it. So I'm finding it to be like a challenge to kind of allow myself to get there, but every single day I'm getting better at it. Like I've completed them fully now, but I'm very hyperactive a lot of the time, as you know.
Progress is the whole point. That's good though. As long as you're sticking to it. I said, as long as you're sticking to it, the progress is really what matters, I think.
Oh yeah, exactly. The consistency has been amazing. And honestly, I know we touched on this a bit more, but the audiobook of High Performance Habits in combination with the planner has been, like you said, is going to just, I can't imagine my life without this now.
Really?
I cannot imagine my life without it. It's perfect. It's what it was made for me. My brain just clicks with it. Like wow. I love the morning questions. I love the night questions. It's just amazing.
So how has it changed your life?
Sorry, not to make this about me. We can just cut this part out. It's made me, I think my mind can be very scattered. So having prompted questions in the morning and in the evening with the weekly review and the monthly review, and then that weekly thing where it's like, what can I do the best each day? I fill that out each day with those questions down the side. It's helped me really see the intention behind the person I want to be, think more about who I could be, where I'm not kind of coming through. Like I've noticed I have a hard time showing affection to certain people in my life. I find I can only be affectionate with like certain people. So certain days I'll write, I want to be more affectionate with my friends, or I appreciate the part that says, who can you reach out to today and give a special note or something like that. So I find like the morning parts it helps me set up my day, and then having my time broken down and writing everything down. Earlier today, I was like, okay, it's 10 o'clock. I've been up since 4. I don't know what to do. As usual, I'm up since 4. And I've done everything. So I felt like I'd run out of time. That's like my midday slump is like the 10 to 11 mark. So luckily I'd already written out my whole day. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then I went and did it, and it felt good. And I schedule in rest time. I schedule in when my friends come over. If you're gonna call me, if I'm gonna call you, I'll write that in, like literally everything. And having that session before quarantine of that 3-4 hour meeting when it was based around Nima, but we went through his planner, and then I remember I was the one writing things in at first.
Right.
That helped me because I was like, you guys gave me an introduction to how to use it properly and with the proper intention.
I'm amazed. I'm floored. Like, I'm not surprised because I hope that this would have the same outcome for you as it did for me, and then for my brother. And mind you, I got this from somebody else, right? So I'm actually looking at mine right now, and it's like, and literally everything you said, I agree with. Like, you can't fuck it up.
Yeah, it's just how they talk about in the beginning, how they spent so much time trying to make it just part of your day, part of your routine. It's exactly that. And like, you fill it, it's so simple. You fill it out Sunday to Saturday, and then you do your review, and then you just do that again, and you just do it again. And it just, for people like me that have a lot of energy or a lot of like Gemini energy running around wanting to do 1,000 creative things at once, it just helps manage it.
It makes me so happy. Like, when I read the book, and you're listening to the book, you said?
Yeah, I'm listening to it on Audible.
When I read it, and then I you know, you start to read the words of like why each. So how far along are you in the book?
I'm only on the second chapter because I'm listening to it in small parts.
So the first one is clarity, right?
Yeah.
And the second one's generate energy or raise necessity. I'm not sure which one it is. Maybe, what is it? Clarity. Yeah, I think it's energy.
I do better reading, but it's reading I'm a lot slower since I had that concussion. So I've been like, I'm gonna try listening.
And you like it?
It's harder to retain information when I listen. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So I find I like to do it at the same time as, like, if I could read and listen at the same time.
Well, the good news is I have the book. So if you want to come borrow it and look at it or keep it or loan it or wherever you want, like, you're more than welcome to do that. 100%. Because I have another 50 books to go through, and like from time to time I leaf through it just to go through like, hey, like, what am I supposed to do in the raise necessity part, you know, just like to get clear. But I can find that information wherever. Plus the journal is already awesome. But when you get more into the book, it tells you about like why each chapter and why each one of those 6 boxes at the very end of the night routine is so important. And it tells you exactly what you should be thinking about when it asks you, how was my energy today? Did I show up as the person I said? And blah, blah, blah. I just think that it's it's a very, what's the word? It's a very like organized, structured way of understanding all the pillars of the habits you need in order to actually become the person you want to be. And then the questions are fucking fire. And I would actually argue that the questions that you answer are more important than what you fill in as far as the timeline is.
Yeah.
Like, you ask you good questions. It's like, yeah, fuck, if I was my own high performance coach, what would I say to myself? Because it's easy for me to say to you, you can say to me, I can say to him.
Yeah.
Shit, what would I say to myself? And the best part is, I don't have to try to come up with some like imaginary idea of what I actually did today. I wrote it down. I look through it and I check it off. Hey, did I do my meditation? Did I do my blah, yes or no? Then I can objectively review myself. And the weekly and the monthly reviews, beautiful.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for my
Have you gotten to a weekly review yet?
No, this week I just got in the mail. Remember, I ordered it a long time ago, but COVID, so it came on Saturday. I filled it out. This is my first week of having.
Oh, okay, cool.
But I'm feeling like every page looks so beautiful. It's so full.
It's so satisfying too, right? When it's full. Yeah, I know.
Oh, it's so satisfying. And then I ordered one for Dylan, and I ordered one for my best friend Jake in Calgary. So one is arriving at his house on Monday.
So what I'm gonna do then, if it seems like you're already in love with it, and I don't suspect you're gonna fall off in the next 6-7 weeks, because I think you're at the point where like it's not gonna not become a habit. It's too valuable. I hope, at least.
Oh.
Maybe I'm kind of putting propaganda into your head a little bit, which I don't mind. There's on Amazon you can order a year's worth, like 6, because each one of them is what, 30-35 bucks, something like that.
It works out to 40 after taxes.
40 after tax. So Amazon, you can get 6 of them for 90 bucks plus tax. So let's say $100. So I'm thinking about ordering that because my mom wants one. My brother needs a new one. I'm pretty much at the end of mine. But then this way, you can take them as you need them too. So we can like shrink the cost, right? Because
The cost.
divided by 6 is like what? Like less than $20 each?
Yeah. Yeah, 100% count me in.
Yeah.
I like that idea. So if you could say one thing to young Omid, what would it be? Your younger self.
How young are we talking about?
If you think of little Omid in your head, how old is he?
Like 12?
12? There you go. Like 12.
Yeah. It's like sometimes when I get asked these questions, I want to give like such a profound answer, so it's like so memorable. It's like I'm almost overdoing it, but honestly, the first thing that came to my mind was
Yes, I want to know.
kindness is always right. It's
Yeah.
like it's on my phone, and it's not about Gary Vee. It's because I believe it,
Yeah.
and it's because I was that way. Everyone was that way until the world conditioned us to feel differently. If the world conditioned you to feel that way, or that's how you perceived it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had known throughout that very critical time around 12, 13, when I felt like, I felt like there was something wrong with me, or I felt like I'm not good enough, and all these ideas started to build. If I had told myself and I tattooed it on my fucking head or my arm or whatever, that kindness is always right, I would have remembered to be kind to others, but most importantly, to be kind to me. And I'm not upset about the way that my life went, but my life would have been different. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like a catch-22. It's like I'm grateful for how it went because I was able to learn these lessons now and become the person I'm becoming. But at the same time, I probably could have done a lot. I probably could have done without the times I called myself a loser or a piece of shit or an unworthy fuck. Like all the very harsh ways that I spoke to myself, and a lot of people do, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I had known that kindness was always right, and I firmly never let go of that belief, yeah, that's what I would have told my younger self. Kindness is always right. It's never the wrong answer. It's never the wrong strategy. It always will win.
It always will win.
If kindness was a basketball team, it would go 82-0, and it would win the playoffs by sweeping every team. It never loses.
When are you going to write a book of analogies?
I love them. I think the only way I want to communicate with the world from now on is analogies. But you know what? Like, I'm so happy that turned out to be the way that my brain works, because I actually think that's the way that I'm getting through to people. Because I gave my mom a specific, hey, quickly, what is my mom like cooking? Cool, let me give you a restaurant cooking example of how, and then all of a sudden you see the lights turn on, right?
Like,
yeah, and literally last week, and she's like, oh shit, like, I've never thought about it that way. We're talking about somebody who's 60 years old. Oh, geez, man, that's my shit.
The analogy you gave me that one time where you're like, Nicole, you're on the highway, but you just keep getting off at this stupid McDonald's, and it's not productive for your time, and you just need to get back on the highway and stop wasting time. I was like, bing, I get it. I love analogies. Thank you.
I love it. I'm sorry.
And give your mom a hug for me after this. Tell her Nicole wants me to give you this because she can't give it to yourself. In this manner and just being a badass.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the word because she's 60 and she wouldn't take it respectfully, but you get what I mean. Queen.
She's a queen. She's
killing it on social media with her confidence, because I know that she was like, that was a bit more nerve-wracking for her. Like, she said she didn't like going on camera as much, and talked to her a bit about it. So she's, bye.
My brother is actually creating her account because she's going to launch her own brand, her own whatever. So exciting. You have no idea. Yeah, the whole world is going to combust. This is like, you know what I told her from like forget about the emotional, loving, awesome part of this side. From a strictly brand marketing standpoint, do you watch, you might not, I don't know. Have you ever seen TLN on cable television? I think it's TLN. It's like I don't even know what it stands for, but it's like mostly Italian programming.
Okay.
There's a show on there that's called Lydia's Kitchen. You ever heard of it? It's
No.
this like older woman, like a nonna, was like a grandma, and she talked, she cooks, and she's like an older Italian, whatever, right? I told my mom, I was like, you could be like Lydia's Kitchen, except you don't have to be a kitchen. You could just be like Nima's stupid mom or whatever, like the whole brand thing is. But you could speak to the demographic of immigrant parents, immigrant moms, mothers in general, not being, coming to a country out of like, we essentially escaped, right? Like we didn't come over here with like hands and, with flowers in our hands. We came out, we were trying to escape a war-ridden country. I was like, you can speak to all the immigrants that are on this side of the world, and you can give them this is how I became comfortable with my son not becoming a doctor, lawyer, engineer. This is how I got through the language barrier. And like all the funny stuff and all the fun stuff too, you could 100% do that. But I was like, you can actually, you can impart change and open people's minds that are of your generation coming from you. Because if I say it, it's like me, I can't talk to childbirth, right? It's not my demographic. I have no idea what that's ever going to be like. But she does, and she can speak about the things that she's been through, that she knows other people are going through, that there's no voice for that right now. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a gap in the market. From a branding standpoint, I think this is genius. Like, I don't know. It's a good idea.
I think it's fantastic. I love it. When your family needs an assistant, you're fucking calling me.
Right. Seriously, right?
Your family needs an assistant.
Hey, you can come live in the half basement. We have lots of space.
I might take you up on that offer.
Yeah, rent free. Plus, Callie lives here. We gave her a haircut yesterday.
Oh, and she has her own Instagram and TikTok now. I can't do all this.
I know, it's a lot of cute.
So I watched that video Nima did of the basic bitch one.
I didn't see that one.
Oh, I watched part of it that was in the vlog. The character's name was Nicole.
Really? Is it facts or not?
I don't know. It probably was. I was like, it wasn't me, but like, does he know any other Nicoles? Because where's he doing that? Where's it from? I'm kidding. He was like, I'm the best looking one out of all of you. And he like flips his hair like this. He's like, Nicole. And I just like looked at the TV and I was like, what?
What the fuck?
The hair flip.
Oh, hair flip.
Hair flip. Okay, I need to tell you about an experience. Oh, I'm just going to do my outro quickly. So I'm going to do a quick pause so I can cut this. Okay. Thank you, Omid, for coming on the podcast. It was absolutely wonderful having you here. Not only being my friend, but you're also my mentor. So, like, the whole podcast can know that, too. Because, I mean, I want you to have credit for that, too. You're my mentor. And you've given me tons of great advice. And you also gave me the advice to take time choosing somebody that clicks with you. So thank you for being that person I can click with to give good advice, the hard advice, for coming on my podcast and spending an hour and a half gabbing with me about life. So
thank you for having me. Thank you for being the person that you are. Just to watch your evolution alongside my own evolution has been a beautiful journey. And I want to acknowledge you for all the work that you're putting in and all the effort that I know you're putting into your life to accelerate so that you also can change the world the same way you're changing your own world. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anywhere people can connect with you, or is that something that is still under wraps?
It's not even that it's under wraps. I just don't have anywhere to send people yet because I'm not currently living in the online world yet. But soon, yes, eventually there'll be, Twitters and websites and Instagrams and
cool
things like that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A lot of benefit from it, so I wanted to get into something else. So that's been helpful, and like, thank God he's an amazing, generous. Oh my God, look at this hair I just pulled off from straightening my hair. Generous person for gifting that. I'm sure. Like, did you do it?
He gave it to me, but I haven't done it. No.
Okay, yeah. So like, that's very nice. Same thing, right? Like, it's $1,000.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
$1,000 US on the website.
Wow.
Like, thank you. When I saw that, I was like, whoo!
Wow.
Like, good for him for charging what he's worth, but I'm just saying, like, what an amazing thing to share. I think it's giving me more perspective, and I think what he said about that my imagination and intuition can bring myself love, because I do feel better when I'm communicating, when I'm creating, when I'm being creative. And then he did ask me to help him do some commercials for the rebranding of Legacy, which was really nice. Paid, which was even more nice for him to ask that.
And helpful for you.
Yeah, so my mom and I are gonna get my name branded as me now.
Like you're gonna get like a business thing?
Yeah.
That's really good because now you can start building credit from a business standpoint. You become a sole proprietorship. You have a tax number. All really good stuff.
Yeah. But I think it's given me much more interest and trust in my mind that I can create my reality that I want, and I can go into comfortable spaces, because usually when I do that alone, or I do breath work alone, I get a lot of anxiety and I get scared. So I think I didn't feel scared doing it with Vince. I felt comfortable and safe. So I think it tweaking what I'm doing so I can maybe explore it in a way that I felt safe then. I'm done.
Great.
Yeah.
Vince is awesome, and I think that the sort of like 30,000 foot view is that, you know, I like to think about where we've been and where we're going, and I think to like literally this time last year, and like where you are now, and now you're surrounded by the Janies of the world, the Alexes, the Sarahs, the Vinces, and it's like each one of these people is like, it's almost like what's that movie? Not Alice in Wonderland. What's the other one? Yeah, maybe that one too, to an extent. But the yellow brick road. What's her name?
Oh, Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. Where like she goes and along the way she just keeps meeting these people that teach her these lessons. It's like that's kind of like what's happening for you, right?
That's so nice, that analogy.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. It's like one person introduces the next person, and they come with you on the journey because whether they're actually with you or not, their teachings are, right? And the things that you got from Alex or Janie or me or whoever. And same thing for me, right? I just think it's beautiful because you built this connection of like, even though what seemingly was like a small moment in your day, week, month, year, life was something that actually changed something in your brain forever, which was in this case, from what I'm hearing from like a reflective standpoint, is he gave you that at the very minimum, he gave you comfortability to go through a breathwork exercise with somebody in a safe way. That's a huge unlock right there. It's seemingly small, like, you know, in the course of a year, it's like a tiny dot on a big circle pie chart. Yeah. But you need that dot to fill out, you know, the rest of the year, right?
Be there.
That's great. And Vince is an awesome dude. Like, obviously, I recommend doing all his whatever you feel compelled to do from his work standpoint or from like a 333 challenge, and all of them, right? I think that the people we surround ourselves with, there's so many facets. On one hand, you should do the program because it's supporting a friend. On the other hand, you should do it so that maybe when you're a coach or you're something in the future, you give them feedback, you learn from what they did so you can do it better. Because that's the whole point, right? To take what we each do and to add to it, and so we can all grow at the same time. Say, hey, this is what I took from you. I added this. I did this. Now you can have this back. Now you do something else. And then most importantly, you as like Nicole, the person, not the coach, not the creator, not the YouTuber, not the whatever. It just helped you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's awesome. It's really good.
That is true.
Pretty good fucking day, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. You should have him on the podcast.
We have it scheduled for next Tuesday at 11.
Who else do I know that's been on this?
So Sarah was last Friday. Jeannie was posted on Monday. Sarah's coming out on Monday. Alex, my friend Tamara was on. We talked relationships, and she's polyamorous, so we talked about like different types of love.
I'm gonna listen to that. Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, really interesting. And like she was in a monogamous relationship for 10 years and then switched to this, and like it's just really cool. And then so Sarah, Jeannie, you, Alex, Vince.
Is my brother doing one?
I have not asked him yet. I have to ask him. I want him to be number 10. You're number 7. Vince is number 8. So I need one more.
Hey, might as well schedule it with him.
Yeah, that's true. What if he shoots me down? No, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
I highly doubt he's gonna shoot you down. He does his own fucking podcast every day.
I don't have time.
He's a loser. Fuck him.
I like how much he talks about masturbation in his podcast. It's hilarious.
He does?
It's hilarious.
I haven't actually listened to any of his podcasts yet.
Yo, you gotta give him the full, you gotta support this bitch and give him the full views, brother. Like, you know that if you even click off his shit, that's negative for his channel when you put it on. And he has ads running before his videos now, which is good.
On YouTube, you're saying?
Yes, on his YouTube videos, there's ads coming before them now, which is good. So I'm letting the full ads play, because then if the full ads play, that turns into monetization. And then if I let a full click, that gives him a higher watch, like, percentage rate. And his videos are like 2 hours sometimes, or like an hour. So like if there's a full watch on it, that looks really positive.
Oh. I didn't know that.
You should do that. Just, you don't have to watch it. Just put it on and walk away. Well, I mean, you should watch it, but I just mean like to support him.
That's pretty smart.
Gotta support your people.
I wonder if YouTube knows if it's on the screen or like if it's just one of the tabs that's playing.
It's watch time, so as long as it's playing. You could like mute it and like replay it multiple times, but it couldn't be from Nima's account.
Right.
Oh yeah, it'd be from your account, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give it a shot.
Not that it matters. I don't know. I'm just like talking because like I don't know too much about stupid shit, but
That's good.
yeah. Anything else you want to say?
You good? It's been a good day.
Yesterday, Alex and I finished by being like, "Today is a great day. Bye." Like hung up.
Alex is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, my friend. It was wonderful chatting with you. And talking about you as a DJ and your whole fancy life.
Thank you.
So couture.
Thank
I'm
you.
shoving the mouse up your nose right now. Okay.
I'm seeing it. Thank you for the call. Thank you for including me. Much appreciated.
Include me in something.
When I do, I will.
Better.
Well.
Bye.
Goodbye.
I'm trying to find the end button. Okay, I see it. Okay, bye.